Hello, and welcome to Dining with Death. This episode is on our playlist, Dining with the Departed, where we talk about famous or infamous people, their lives, what they're famous for, and we eat their favorite food. I'm Stacey Lee. Let's begin. Just a couple of weeks ago, millionaire software entrepreneur John McAfee was found dead in his prison cell in Spain as he awaited extradition to the United States to stand trial for tax evasion. As you'll see in this episode, John McAfee was in and out of the news for years for his lifestyle and antics. I've kind of always thought that this guy was a piece of crap, but after researching who he was for days and days, getting ready for this episode, I'm positive of it. So if you have precious feelings for millionaires who abuse women, who threaten all kinds of people with violence, who break the law and then run from it because they think they're above it, and who are just generally awful, I would suggest not watching this because you're not going to have a good time. Now, when we're speaking about dangerous lunatics, I will say that John McAfee was a very intelligent, dangerous lunatic. That's it. That's the compliment. That's all I got. He was born on September 18th, 1945 in Cinderford, England, on a U.S. Army base. His father was American and his mother was British. They moved to America when he was very young and he was raised in Virginia. When McAfee was 15, his father, who he described as an abusive alcoholic, killed himself with a gun. McAfee got a degree in mathematics from Roanoke College. He went back to school in Louisiana to work on a doctorate degree, but he was expelled because of a relationship with an undergraduate who became his first wife. He then went to work as a programmer for NASA's Institute for Space Studies from 1968 to 1970. He then worked at UNIVAC as a software designer and then Xerox as an operating systems architect. In the 1980s, while working for Lockheed, he became aware of something almost no one had even heard of at the time: computer viruses. He began developing programs to combat those viruses, and in 1987, he founded McAfee Associates, Inc., which sold the very first antivirus software on the market. Now, for us old folks, we remember the time when we didn't have computers in our home. I think the first computer in my home was probably around 1991, and that was really early. That was because my ex-husband sold them and worked on computers. I remember always having to make sure that McAfee software was updated because that was the only way that you knew for sure your computer was protected or more protected. In 1994, John McAfee sold his company and never again had involvement in its operation. He made about $100 million on that sale, but would later go on to lose over 90% of that fortune in the financial collapse of 2008. So those are the basic facts of his life, but we can't really go any further until I give you an idea of who this man was as a person. Obviously, he was incredibly intelligent. He was also incredibly paranoid, misogynistic, mean, and absolutely deviant. Now, because of the format of this channel and the things that we choose to talk about and not talk about, I can't even really tell you how deviant he was. But let's just say, if you think of the most disgusting thing you can think of, that's what he was into. He was absolutely obsessed with guns, like many of these types are. He was convinced everyone was out to get him, like many of these types are. You know, just the general narcissistic personality traits you see in megalomaniac ego monsters who treat other human beings like garbage. He lived like a king after selling his company, purchasing a 5-acre oceanfront mansion in Hawaii, a 10-person Cessna private jet, a 157-acre ranch in New Mexico that included a 35-person movie theater, expensive artwork, a fleet of luxury cars, and lots of drugs and alcohol everywhere he went. He spent a reported $25 million on a 10,000 square foot home in Colorado and also purchased millions worth of Lehman Brothers bonds. All of this would lead to him losing his fortune. Following the stock market crash of 2008, which obliterated McAfee's fortune, he moved to Belize. He immediately set up kind of a compound there and hired local men who had all done prison time to carry guns around his home and follow him wherever he went. He gave large donations to the Belize police, making sure they had the best of everything, which was not something they were accustomed to. Of course, he wasn't doing that out of any kind of goodness. He was doing it so that he owned them and he could do whatever he wanted without repercussions. He announced plans to begin manufacturing what he called herbal antibiotics. He partnered with a microbiologist named Alison Adonisio, who was researching alternative medicines. She quickly became aware that McAfee was nothing more than a con man when he asked her to fake lab results and add dyes to plain water for photo ops just to make it appear that they were further along in production than they actually were. When she told McAfee that she was finished with the company and wanted to go home to America, he drugged her and, according to Adonisio, sexually assaulted her. Her friends had to help her escape Belize after this incident. As incredibly horrific as that story is, it gets worse. McAfee liked to go to countries that don't have strong laws against purchasing children, and he would purchase teenage girls as young as 16 who were in horrific circumstances and take them back to his compound to do with as he wished. He was truly an abuser of women. Some of the women report that they felt that they were in an actual relationship with him, even though there were always 5 to 7 other women living in the house with them. At times, the women would try to leave, and McAfee reports several of them pulled guns on him, and one even tried to cut his throat. There are also many allegations that the lab once used for researching herbal antibiotics was being used to manufacture meth and bath salts. McAfee spoke openly and publicly on camera about his use of amphetamines and bath salts in particularly, which that's always a great choice. Now, this is just a tiny glimpse into this man's character and life, but picture it. You've got this delusional millionaire living in a compound on an island with little law enforcement, which he now owns. He's got armed guards everywhere and a house full of women. Now add to that a pack of vicious, aggressive dogs that never stop barking. And now imagine that you're this man's neighbor. Imagine that you're someone who moved to an island paradise to enjoy your peace and quiet, and this is the jerk you get stuck living next to. That's exactly what happened to an American expat named Gregory Fall. Fall began complaining to police that he and his family couldn't even walk to the public beach because of the vicious dogs running everywhere and threats by McAfee's armed guards. Fall went to McAfee's house to talk to him about the non-stop barking, and he claims McAfee pulled a gun on him. After months of this, Fall had had enough of this and allegedly took not only drastic but illegal action. One morning, all of the dogs were found foaming at the mouth and lying, panting all around the property. They had been poisoned. McAfee had his armed guards, which by the way he called hitmen, shoot the dogs and bury them. McAfee immediately stated that he knew it was his neighbor, Fall, who had poisoned the dogs. On November 11, 2012, Gregory Fall was found dead at his home in Belize. He had been murdered with a shot to the back of his head. Suspicion immediately fell on McAfee, who fled to Guatemala, as you do when you're totally innocent. According to those close to McAfee, he had paid a local hitman $5,000 to kill Gregory Fall. While on the run in Guatemala, McAfee, who never met a camera he didn't like and could not stay out of the spotlight, gave an interview to Vice, which led to his arrest. Vice was actually there and caught it on camera.
They're trying to arrest me for coming into the country illegally. We know that this is merely a move to keep me from doing it across country.
McAfee was then held in Guatemala for several weeks before being deported to the United States. He lived here in the U.S. freely until January 2019, when he learned he was about to be charged with tax evasion. He again went on the run. This time he was arrested in the Dominican Republic when he was accused of transporting weapons, but was released. He then ran to Spain, where he was caught on October 5, 2020. Spanish authorities held him at the request of the United States Department of Justice on a warrant that claimed McAfee had paid no taxes from 2014 to 2018. On March 5, 2021, McAfee was indicted for promoting cryptocurrencies over Twitter without disclosing that he was an investor in that cryptocurrency. He was set to be extradited from Spain to the U.S. to face charges where he faced 60 years in prison. On the morning of June 23, 2021, prison guards found John McAfee dead in his cell of an apparent suicide. He was 75 years old. There is much, much more to this story. And if you're interested in learning more about this man, I would suggest watching Gringo on Showtime. It's a documentary that talks a little bit more about his life and chronicles his run for president because, of course, he ran for president. I would also strongly suggest watching the Adult Swim episode of Soft Focus with Jenna Friedman. She roasts him so hard in this interview over and over, and he just doesn't quite know how to handle her. It's beautiful. I especially love the part where he says to her, "What do you think I am, some kind of an idiot that would leave my mic on and forget that I'm being recorded?" And then he proceeds to leave his mic on, forget he's being recorded, and say a bunch of really idiotic stuff. It's pure art. John McAfee loved sushi. His first day back in the United States, he went to a Miami sushi restaurant called Sushi Sambadromo and ate $400 worth of nigiri and rolls. He was known to practically live on sushi and sashimi and claimed, "I could eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner." So right now, we are going to eat the favorite food of John McAfee, lunatic billionaire, incredibly intelligent businessman, abuser of humans, and all-around right now as we go dining with death on Dining with the Departed. Got myself a nice little plate of sushi rolls here. Sushi doesn't travel well, especially the kind I like to eat. So we've just kind of got some basic little tastes today. Got a little spicy ahi with some fried onions. I love sushi, and I might not be a megalomaniac millionaire, but I too could eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's really one of my great loves. This one's got a little yum yum sauce on it. How great is it that you can buy yum yum sauce in the grocery store now? I'm seeing it everywhere, and I love it because I'll put it on anything. Got a little basic California roll here. That's okay. I'm a little basic sometimes. Yum, sushi, yay for sushi. Maybe the one thing I'll cut him a little slack on was his taste in food. Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death, Dining with the Departed. Please like and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your subscriptions help us so much here. Stay safe and be kind to each other, and I'll see you next time on Dining with Death. Bye.